might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm
Good morning. Hi. Hello. Good morning, everyone. We are about to begin, and it's very important that we do it on time because there are many people watching us online. But there is one logistical message that I want to deliver, and that is to do with lights. We will watch a performance now, and it will include flashing lights. So if you are sensitive to flashing lights, please find your way of avoiding them. Enjoy the performance.
no offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said. Question.
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
Question.
Where did you come from? And where did you go? To the morning sun.
Got many things to do, to deal, to sell. I must hurry up if I wanna be in time. Gotta be the last one. So I run every day. I run fast. Everybody feels that I'm not fashion. We'll laugh, we'll live, we'll lose without any passion. Occasion, decision, confusion, question. Where do the tears come from, and where do they go? Where do the tears come from, and where do they go? Where do the tears come from, and where do they go? I remember the night by the sea, but I forgot how would it feels to watch the stars high above, to hide the fear deep in the sky of water. I remember the night by the sea, but I forgot how good it feels to watch the stars high above, to hide the fear deep in the sky of water. Have lots of ways to be, to run, to feel free, to be gone. I can love
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
But I forgot.
Where did you come from? Where did you go? To the morning sun, morning sun.
Deep in the sky of water.
Good morning, everyone, again. Some of you at the Talent Garden, the wonderful Talent Garden building. Some of you online. I hope all of you digitally happy, as this has become quite mandatory these days. And also, digitalization will be the focus of this year's event. But first of all, let me do a tiny ceremony, asking you all to give us a round of applause, and I want to welcome you to the Norwegian-Lithuanian Business Forum 2020. This is the 6th edition, and we opened it with a musical cultural surprise, laser lights performance, delivered by Ugnies Show Studio Liepsnose, Studio of Flames, in other words. Let's show them a sign of appreciation again. My name is Jivila Kropaite. I'll be your moderator for the morning, and let me fulfill the role of the moderator by providing you a couple of logistical details and information that you will find useful. This year's focus is on digitalization, as I have mentioned, with an emphasis on promoting the cooperation and knowledge transfers between Norway and Lithuania. And the topic has become even more relevant these days, but the organizers would have done it without the pandemic's context anyway. This is a crucial topic, and it will be discussed in many angles today. As you know, it was supposed to happen in May, but we all know what happened to the world, and the change related to it is that there will be no digital party any longer, and the format is hybrid, meaning that a lot of you are watching us online. For your safety, you are advised to wear masks, which I see most of you are doing. That obligation does not apply to the speakers, especially speakers online, for you to understand them better and for obvious reasons, but the rest of the people, for your safety, please feel free to wear masks. Dinner at the ambassador's residence will be held after the event, but I will provide you with more details later. We will have 8 presentations in total. Some of them will be remote. There will be a coffee break along the way. And I also want to mention the sponsors without whom it would not have happened, and you can see them on the screen as well. SuperOffice, Centric, 3P Logistics, and Vegvisor. Please give them a big round of applause as well. And now, for the opening remarks, let me invite on stage His Excellency Ole Terje Hjørpestad, Norwegian Ambassador to Lithuania. The floor is yours.
Ačiū. Labas rytas. God morgen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be here today and welcome you to the annual Norwegian-Lithuanian Business Forum for the first time for my part as a new Norwegian ambassador to Lithuania. I have been so fortunate to take up this position at a time when the relations between Norway and Lithuania are better than ever. Our political cooperation has grown into a strong and equal partnership based on mutual trust, shared values, and very similar goals. Only a week after I arrived here, Prime Minister Erna Solberg paid an official visit to Lithuania, underlining our close and friendly relations. She visited the Norwegian troops participating in the NATO Enhanced Forward Presence Battle Group in Lithuania to safeguard our common security, together with their Lithuanian counterparts. The EEA Norway grants have helped implement hundreds of much-needed civic and government initiatives. Human ties are fostered by large Lithuanian diaspora in Norway and a growing Norwegian community also here in Lithuania. Finally, Norway is among the 10 top foreign investors in Lithuania, and our bilateral trade has never been higher. This is largely thanks to many of you who are present here in this room today. And I'm sure we can do even more together in the future. I arrived in Vilnius only a month ago and have already heard so much and experienced myself also how active, enthusiastic and family-like the Norwegian-Lithuanian business community and our Chamber of Commerce are. Already at one of my very first meetings here, I had the pleasure of meeting our partners at the Chamber of Commerce, Stein Ove, Vilma, Lina. If any of you in the audience are not yet part of the NLCC, maybe none of you are not part of it, but if you are not, then I would advise you to become members as soon as possible. If anything, you would then get a nice discount for next year's forum. Jokes aside, it's hard not to notice that this year's forum is not like the ones you remember from the years before. We have much fewer people in the room, but for the first time also, so many more have a possibility to join online. I greet you especially from wherever you are. The distance between us in the audience is bigger than we might like, but with the world's fastest internet connection, which I've learned that about Lithuania has that already, the physical distance has never mattered less. Choosing digitalization as a topic for this forum, which I know you did way before anybody even had heard about COVID-19, could not have been more timely. From being just a buzzword for many, within days of, if not hours into the pandemic, digitalization has become a new reality for all of us. Personally, I must say that half a year ago I had never participated in a Zoom meeting, never heard about a Zoom meeting. Now it's, if not a daily, then at least a quite frequent phenomenon for all of us. And as always, those who were a step ahead of others won the day. And this is particularly true in the world of business and commerce. In these times of uncertainty, the digital future is now, and the front seats in it are reserved for the visionaries. Today's excellent speakers are among them. So I wish us all to enjoy listening to what they have to share, discuss, get inspired, and be digitally happy. Thank you very, very much, and enjoy the forum. Ačiū.
Thank you, Ambassador. The event wouldn't have happened without the input of the embassy, and there is one other person without whom it definitely wouldn't have happened, and that's Norwegian-Lithuanian Chamber of Commerce and its Managing Director, Lina Motskute. Let's welcome her.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here today. For me, I'm really pleased that the new, innovative hybrid forum has been so well received. It has given us an opportunity to scale the event to a wider community and be even more inclusive. Of course, events like today's, I will repeat it again, but definitely events like this don't happen by themselves. They occur only with the support of our partners and members. So I'd like once again to thank the Norwegian Embassy for continued collaboration and to today's sponsors for making this event possible. Silver sponsors Super Office and Centric, and bronze sponsors Vegvisir and 3P Logistics. Hopefully next year we can repeat the event physically. But also, I hope that we can keep the virtual opportunity, because this makes it easy for people to join from abroad, from Norway as well, as today many from them are joining us. We know digitalization has changed our lives, and we no longer can imagine probably not only life without smartphones, probably just the thought of losing one fills most of us with dread. Digitalization is also transforming the way companies do business. Yet affected by the pandemic, the current digital revolution is exceptionally fast. Literally billions of people are relying on ICTs for news, for teleworking, for remote learning, shopping, and even for staying in touch with their loved ones. We must congratulate the network operators and platform providers, I think, for responding so successfully to the huge increase in demand over the past few months. It has shown just how resilient this technology is. And as a result, many businesses have managed to continue their activities. And when it is now well recognized that ICTs are a key part of building back better, the topic of this year's forum is and the slogan, digitally happy, makes even more sense. Digital technologies with purpose are absolutely vital to meet our ambitious development targets. But just don't remember, we are in this together. Collaboration and cooperation are key. The Chamber is committed to working with our membership and many organizations to leverage ICTs to help defeat the pandemic and accelerate progress in digital age. I invite you to learn more about the digital present and the digital future in today's presentations that will be given by 7 great expert speakers from Norway and Lithuania, and to listen to their insights. I wish all of you an enjoyable and digitally happy conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Lina, for your enthusiasm and all the hard work you did to make this happen. Let us now begin with presentations. I really liked how the ambassador said a month ago he didn't know what a Zoom meeting was. So to mark the times where everyone knows what a Zoom meeting is already, we will begin this with a remote presentation to better feel the taste of nowadays reality. We will speak about the digital future, how Norway passed the first pandemic test and what comes next. And this will be delivered by the acting CEO of ICT Norway, and I will just mention for those who might not know it that ICT Norway is the largest interest group for the Norwegian ICT industry, representing the full range of players from major corporations down to small entrepreneurial companies. And remotely joining us is the acting CEO, as I said, of ICT Norway, Fredrik Sivertsen. Let's maybe give him some small applause so he knows that we're here. You may start.
So, good morning, everyone. I can't see you, but hopefully you can see me. My name is Fredrik Syversen, and I'm the acting CEO of ICT Norway. And we are representing the Norwegian IT industry here in Norway. And this morning I would like to give you a short presentation on how Norway passed the first test in the pan. And I have a few slides on what we think will happen around us as well. But a little bit about ICT Norway. ICT Norway is an NGO representing the Norwegian IT industry. We're a problem solver and of course the collective voice for the industry, both here in Norway and abroad. Approximately 450 member companies. And our mission statement is to make Norway good for ICT or digital, ensure that Norway is a great place to have your technology companies to locate and to grow. And of course, make ICT good for Norway. We need to ensure that the full potential of the technology becomes reaped in all sectors here at home. And last but not least, make ICT/digital good for the people, ensure that technology used to improve and enhance the quality of life for all consumers and citizens of our little nation. So a few facts about Norway. We're a small country, 5.2 million, I guess, now these days. An open economy, high trust among people, and social and political stable. We have relatively expensive labor and a strong competition that provides a push for new technology. And we have some good numbers on different indexes around the world that tells you that Norway is a good place both to live, work, and of course we are still dependent on some of the income that the North Sea provides us when it comes to oil and gas, which kind of is some of the basis, I guess, for reaching high in some of these global indexes. But Norway also represents a limited home market, although it's big in size compared to the ratio of people living here. The total turnover in our business is about 200 billion NOK. But of course, we also have a big export from our ICT companies. Just want to mention one company that or two companies that works also in Lithuania, Visma, probably North Europe's biggest software company. Atea is one of the biggest Nordic IT companies as well. And Norway is a good market to be in because we are early adopters of new technology breakthroughs, both when it comes to into or embedded into products and systems. And we are keen to implement new products and services, both in our private and consumers area, but not least in the public sector, which is a big customer here in Norway. Probably about 45% of the IT businesses goes into public sector. And we like to think that our customers are both advanced and demanding, as they should be, which also drives innovation in our industry. So summed up, large economy, but small population. We need immigrants. We need to work with companies and environments abroad to grow further. And I'll get a little bit into that later in the presentation. So this is the digital status, more or less, just emphasizing what I really said, that pretty good in all areas. We have some mileage to go when it comes to innovation. And there also the need to work both internationally and better between public and private sector. So get into what happened the last 6th or 7th month, which I guess is not really special for Norway, but I'll take our approach into it. So this is what March 13 looked like in Norway. This is the first page of one of our biggest dailies. So the next day, all schools closed, kindergarten closed, offices closed, all events closed, all sports closed, all restaurants and bars closed. So for all practical reasons, the whole country was indeed shut down, or in lockdown, sorry. So what does this mean for online experiences? And the next day we moved more than 1 million workers to home office. 800,000 students moved to online education almost over the day. And all public services was closed offline and moved then online. So kind of a big push from offline experiences to online experience in less than 24 hours. And how did this manifest itself? So if we look to homes, we have more than a 40% increase in data, almost in less than 24 hours. Streaming increased by 25%, almost 50% daytime. Not sure if that is good or bad, but I think both Netflix and HBO had a really good time here in Norway, and still has during this crisis. What is not so good is that we also saw a tripling of cybercrime and cybercrime-related activity in the same period, which also put a lot of stress on companies moving almost 80 to 90% of their workers from offices to home and using home devices rather than the secure devices and systems that they use at home, which has posed a lot of problems for many companies when it comes to keeping the work environment, the IT work environment safe for both the business as such, but also the employees on the individual basis. So this is I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'll try to read it out. But this is a study that the telco company Telia, which I know you also have in Lithuania, they did a survey on education and schools during the pandemic. And in Norway, the majority of students say that they look back at this as a period of more or less safety and satisfaction. More or less the same in Lithuania, a little less there. But if you look at the difficulty and the school task that was given during the pandemic, you say that in Lithuania it actually was more difficult. Task has increased, but also very positive is that the learnings and results have increased in the same period as well. From the students' point of view, that is. In Norway, it's more or less the same. It's actually a bit lower in Norway compared to Lithuania when it comes to how they experience the learning and results situation in the period, which is quite interesting. And there's been a lot of discussions here in Norway if moving everything online, what cost does it come with? But I think the overall picture is that this has worked out pretty good. Although we have some experiences with pupils and students that feel that they haven't had the same close contact with the teacher and educators as they have offline or in the physical school areas. But a little fun fact is that the children in Lithuania slept and eaten better during the period studying from home. And on the negative side, from a Norwegian perspective, students here find that they had a less safe online experience during the period. And there has been some issues connecting to both cyberbullying here in Norway and some more cyber crime-related activities. So although kind of the overall picture here on the education side is that this has worked out pretty good, some students have experienced this as a positive period of their education, some more or less. But we have seen examples of pupils and students that have been behind before the pandemic actually has flourished during the pandemic, being at home, working on their own hours, so to say. So I'm just moving over to another space that's been kind of interesting to watch during this period, and that's the health sector. Video has always been there, and has been a device and a system and a technology that has been able to use both if you're a GP or in a hospital situation. But it has never been really used that much. But what we saw in the last 6 months is that the use of video really exploded. We had companies that always was on the brink of bankruptcy in February on video conferencing companies in the health sector that really jumped to both black figures and received funding during this period because they saw that the number of usage exploded in this period. And same with e-prescription, which is a nationwide service from the government. that really we saw what kind of impact that had, especially when in a situation where health is at the paramount. And of course, people stopped going to their GP, which also tend to kind of move people from offline services by their GP to online services. And what we believe is that this really is a push that it's not going back to the old normal, but this is actually the new normal, which I also will come back to later in the presentation. Just have me some coffee. So the macros from a Norwegian perspective is that, of course, oil prices plummeted. Oil being, of course, super important for the Norwegian economy still. Use of public money soared to unprecedented levels, and so did unemployment, which kind of gives us, I think, also a bit of look into the future, because I think everybody here in Norway is kind of, we are confident that we can't just live off the oil, which has been something that we have said for many years. But I think during this pandemic, we really have that push to look further than just the North Sea. And the use of public money, okay, that's a short vision that has to stop. And this morning, actually, our finance minister is putting forward to Parliament a national budget, which is going to be interesting. And they say that it's going to use less oil money for next year. So let's see if that really comes true. And we, of course, Norway, who's never been seeing unemployment less than 5% in the last 30 years almost, suddenly have unemployment rates crossing 7%, which is extraordinary from Norwegian perspective. So what we think is that this, although the figures might be right, but this is the new normal, both from a macro perspective, but also from a services, public and private sector perspective on how you deal with employees, investors, customers, etc., etc. I think also from a Norwegian perspective, this also put the SDGs and the push for sustainable and circular services and products into perspective, that actually this has been put really high on the agenda for all companies, and especially the IT sector, that we also need to be the changing power from getting from unsustainable systems and solutions over to sustainable, which is a big market opportunity, especially here in Norway, and I think that goes for the whole of Europe. And like I said, for many years, data is the new oil, and from a Norwegian perspective, everything that is cool is new oil. But I think we can agree on that data is actually the new oil. But if it's new oil, we need to know how to reap the fruits of the investments that we have done in data, and really put it into use for economical and social benefits, which is really high on the agenda at this hour. And this has been going on from what the World Economic Forum said in 2012, but I still believe that they haven't really understood the impact and the value of our data from a Norwegian perspective, that is. And like I said, sustainability and technology goes hand in hand, and we see that the push from using this pandemic and this crisis to actually go from a more fossil fuel society into a mission-free society really has given our companies and our industry a new push to work more on delivering sustainable technology services and products to both public and private sector. So it's a super interesting time to be when you have services or products in this area here in Norway. So just to emphasize that this green shift also means new governance, and from a Norwegian and an industry perspective, we also need to show our own footprint from a digital sector, but also our impact in giving opportunities from other sectors to move to a more green future. And of course, we have this big oil fund, and I think it's interesting at least from an international perspective, that we have a new boss in the Norwegian Investment Bank, this last month, and his perspective is to move a lot of our new investments into green and sustainable stocks and other possible investments. And of course, like I said, Norway being a big public sector, and from our business and our industry, it's compromised almost 45 to 50% of the total turnover is connected to public procurement. We need to also see that this should be a motor for a Green Deal, which it's not today. But this is happening as we speak, and I think what the finance minister is putting forward today is also going to reflect that the public sector is going to use more tougher measures to shift public procurements into a more green environment. And as like any other nation in the Western Europe, we are going to a more of a what we like to call the silver tsunami, less people per elderly person to care for. And also that gives us a high push for technology services that actually lessen the burden on the people working in the health and elderly services sector. And digital, of course, is a big push for that. It's a big market opportunity for companies both here and abroad. And this is a bit of a busy slide, but we are working together with some of our association friends in Europe. Today, actually, we're having a meeting with our German sister association, Bitkom, and the topic there is digital sovereignty. And of course, we're living in a global situation where you have at least 2 or 3 players that is fighting it off. But I think Europe needs to step up and take responsibility for giving digital sovereignty to both European companies and countries. But also we as nations need to actually look ourselves in the mirror and see if we have that digital sovereignty that I think is vital both in a European context but also a national context. And I'll just go through it really quickly, but we need to take care of our own skill sets. We need to have good education institution that delivers enough skilled people to actually provide for our own digital needs. And just from a Norwegian perspective, we have some reports saying that we are in lack of 10,000 experts when it comes to just our own industry, which kind of tells you the need to have this put in place, especially from a European perspective. Same goes with research, and I know today also the finance minister here in Norway is announcing that Norway is going full force into the R&D, EU R&D program, Digital Europe, so that Norwegian companies will have the opportunity to be a part of maybe the most interesting part of the R&D institutions or R&D funding that comes out of Europe the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm ending my keynote here, but I think from a Norway-Lithuanian perspective, we need to, and I think this is in place, but I think we need to work better on this, how to better include and integrate Lithuania and Baltics into a Nordic region, because I really do believe that Nordics has an opportunity to both put forward an integrated region, both from a business perspective, but also on a more citizen perspective. And I think it's more necessary than ever to have a strong cooperation between the Baltics and Nordics, and maybe look at this as one region. And going forward, the economy is going to be based on digital. And how do we incorporate already existing Nordic-Baltic ties better with business, thinking that this is within a digital framework. And with that, I'll thank you for listening to me. Sorry I can't be there, but I'd love to be in Vilnius. We have been my first time there. But at some times this pandemic will move away, and it will be possible to meet people physical again, and I look forward to that. Thank you so much for listening to me this morning, and have a great day forward. Thank you.
Microphone. Thank you so much. I think we all like the idea of better including Baltics into the Nordic region. I think one other aspect that was very interesting to listen to was the education aspect, how listening to the speaker, it sounded like Lithuania just did a little bit worse than Norway in terms of online education and stuff, whereas if you're in Lithuania, you will hear that, you know, in the beginning pupils did not have computers, that some schools were completely unable to deliver classes online. So it's always interesting to have these different perspectives, and as interesting as it is, we still have many other topics to discuss. And I want to present next speaker, who will be Senior Investment Advisor, GBS and ICT at Invest Lithuania. She will speak about Lithuanians' foreign direct investment vision, a leading international ICT competence hub in Northern Europe. And I want to welcome on stage here, not remotely, Monika Vilkelytė.
It is a great pleasure to be here. My name is Monika Vilkelytė, as Živil already mentioned, and I'm the Senior Investment Advisor at Invest Lithuania. I do work actively and I do assist leading global IT companies in their site selection journey whenever they're looking for a next best location, which is usually Lithuania, for their new IT development, engineering, or other multifunctional global business services operation. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to be here as well. I'm very excited since it is already my second physical event this year. A bit strange as a sales and advisory person, but a way to go. So today I'm going to shortly discuss and provide you an overview of the overall FDI environment in Lithuania, of the overall global business services and ICT industry, a little bit of overview about our main investors, what do companies that we work with, what do they think, how do they perceive Lithuania, what do they do and how do they act in the country, as well as how are we putting our efforts in positioning Lithuania as the GBS and ICT hub in the Northern Europe, as well as the overall Central and Eastern European region among our main competitors. Shortly about us, I believe the absolute majority should be and are familiar with Invest Lithuania as an organization, so just a very short overview. Invest Lithuania is an official FDI promotion and business development agency in Lithuania. We do operate under Ministry of Economy and Innovation. Our team consists of 100 highly experienced, ambitious professionals that do great work for the country. So myself, I'm together with half of the organization, 50 people, a team of doing actively client-related, client-facing work. We have 4 different teams. Those are like an idea what kind of companies we are approaching, which events are we attending, which markets are we targeting. So Global Business Services and ICT, my team, we do have a technology team that is more engaged actively with small niche tech projects like fintech, game development, or cybersecurity, as well as manufacturing team that are actively engaged in large, complex greenfield projects, and our newly added and created life sciences team that are putting their great effort into attracting biotech investments to Lithuania. Another half of the organization, another 50 people are doing crucial work of the organization, crucial work for Norwegian, Nordic, and all of the other companies to feel great, to feel welcome, to feel effective in Lithuania, everything related to improvement of our investment environment regarding infrastructure, education, migration, regional developments, all of the legal framework, taxation issues, lack of specific university programs, everything. So basically, everything that the companies are not really satisfied with, we are here to help you and support you and make it the best place to operate for you guys. Another, just a couple of other parts, so communications, we do have the communication department where we actively seek and assist our companies in spreading the message about their operations, in reaching their potential talent very actively. We do so-called the office opening assistance, marketing activities, PR messages, and so on, as well as couple of great programs. Work in Lithuania where all of our companies, all of our investors are able to place their job ads, to place have their own marketing activities, and just again increase their presence and increase the knowledge about the company. As well as another one, you probably might also have heard, Create Lithuania, which is aimed at attracting Lithuanian professionals back to Lithuania and putting them the so-called into the public sector of the country to improve the overall public sector environment. Just shortly, my main topics. So we're going to go through the global business services and ICT industry in Lithuania, as well as the local ICT ecosystem as we do have right now. Yep. I do work with a great number of companies in various steps of their projects, filling the RFPs, having the site visits, giving them the information, proving that Lithuania is the country for them to be. One of the most important factors that the investors are thinking about and measuring many companies against is the Ease of Doing Business Bank by the World Bank. The ranking itself consists of 10 different sub-rankings. Just a couple to mention is the easiness and smoothness of starting a company in Lithuania, paying taxes, getting a residence permit, getting a construction permit, the protection of minority rights, and as well. So basically, for us, it was very important to climb up steadily the ladder to put Lithuania among those leading countries. As you can see, Norway has been doing pretty well throughout the years. The country has been in the top 10 for a very, very long time, and our goal is actually to be in the top 10 as well. So we're taking the very good example from you. Couple of main initiatives that we have been working throughout in order to place Lithuania, position Lithuania as the leading ICT hub in the region, both in the Northern Europe as well as the Central and Eastern European region. IT talent. IT talent is a hot topic everywhere, whether that's our main competitors, Poland, Hungary, whether that's the Nordic markets, UK, American clients do discuss about that. What our government has been doing quite recently, so we are actually right now in the process of launching a specific IT requalification and upskilling initiative, which will add another 750 IT specialists into the market, which means that companies already operating in Lithuania and companies newly choosing the country as a new location will have another great pipeline, another great source for the junior developers or for the niche skilled IT specialists such as RPA developers, cybersecurity specialists, data scientists, and so on. Another important topic is, of course, talent is a hot topic. Therefore, we do have Lithuanians coming back. We do have another people from other countries migrating to Lithuania. A lot of you might heard that or might know that those bureaucratic procedures, they do take quite a long time to fix and to have those third country nationals arriving. Hence, we did we sat down with the ministry, with the government, and said, okay, we need to shorten that. We're losing talent, we're losing people. Sometimes we're even losing companies when they cannot bring effectively their talent to Lithuania. And we shorten up the blue card procedures from 8 months to 1 month. One of the new topics, one of the new areas that we are working in is the robotic process automation, a great area that Lithuania is working with. Many companies choosing the country, they are already automating, they are creating scripts, they are not choosing Lithuania for some transactional work, they either are becoming a complex hub of operations or the automation hub of their company. Hence, we are in active work of creating an incentive for companies to automate even more. An incentive will be dedicated for labor cost, training, licenses, as well as all of the activities related to automating in their GBS centers in Lithuania. Very shortly about our industry. Just to define, global business services are the area that we do work with large corporations to have their service centers here. Services ranging, as you can see on the right, from IT, which is everything, software development, data science, business intelligence, IT infrastructure services, ranging to customer service, finance and accounting, engineering, compliance, robotics, analytics, all of their business services they could export to their markets. Talking about the service centers itself, we do have more than 80 different global business services in Lithuania, currently employing nearly 20,000 people in the industry. For a very long time, Nordic countries were the leading group of investors. I mean, obviously, since the very early days, we did have Nordic banks coming in the market for their retail operations. Later on, we started seeing more and more of those banks actually placing their core operations in Lithuania, their finance, accounting, IT infrastructure, some software development. So Nordics were the leading groups until I think 2 years ago, we saw this nice shift that actually more and more companies were discovering Lithuania. So we had some manufacturing, engineering, some financial services companies from America come into Lithuania and then establishing their centers. So still, it was Nordics as a leader, but I think it might change in the future again. Just briefly about the industry itself, how did it grow? How is it growing right now? What are the features of that? I'd say the whole industry did start in Lithuania back in 2007, 2008. I remember clearly one of the first centers in Lithuania was Storebrand. I had an honor to work there as well. Actually, it was my first place of employment when I got back to Lithuania. At that date, Storebrand came, CSC Technology, an American company, came, so it started, the hub started to create, and of course, a lot of investors were a bit hesitant. You know, they used to say, and they still say, okay, it's Lithuania, it's 3 million people only. I mean, you're not Poland, you're not Hungary. How much can we grow there? And we kept receiving those notices from the companies. And back at the time, we had Barclays company in Lithuania, which was 800 people, the largest one, and we were hesitant as well. So can we grow? Can we have a center of 1,000 people, 2,000? How much can we grow? But as you can see, investors kept coming. They kept creating their center of competence, customer services center, finance centers. And nowadays, we do have nearly 20,000 people employed, with the largest center of Danske Bank employing 4,000 people. So I think we still have room to grow, especially as you can see on the right in my graph. As compared to our main competitors in the region, Lithuania has a lot of potential to fulfill. For example, Krakow, a very well-established investment location in Poland, it's nearly the same size of Vilnius. It has a very large student population, but many companies do keep coming to Poland, so it's already a bit stretched out, while in Lithuania we still have this room for growth. So usually and again, we do not have those big, sexy investors from US, let's say Amazon, Facebook, Google. We do not have those. So basically, every investor that is coming to Lithuania is very well noticed, appreciated, and welcome in the industry. Very shortly, as we talk about investments, again, we do talk about Vilnius Kaunas Hub, which is a single investment hub with good universities, with talent pool, with great connectivity, and so on. But there is a slight difference which company chooses which city. So basically, Vilnius is more for a bigger, larger corporations, banks, and so on. While Kaunas is a great location, I would say, for some niche technology companies for their engineering, cloud operations, cybersecurity units as well. It has the greatest technical university in the Baltics, KTU. So that's a great hub for those companies. Worth noticing, all of the 3 main cities in Lithuania, Vilnius, Kaunas, and Klaipėda, they do have Nordic investors. So those companies from the Nordics are very well established in the overall market. The dynamics of the industry, as I've said, it started 10, 12 years ago with the first finance companies, financial services companies coming to Lithuania. They saw this unexplored, untapped talent pool with great language skills. Obviously, not many learns Lithuanian, and that is a small country, so we have to learn English, German, French, Norwegian, or Swedish. So they came, Storebrand was one of the first ones. They came and they saw that potential that the talent is able to deliver. They do speak multiple foreign languages. They are ambitious. They do deliver well and fast. So they kept coming. They kept growing. But first, it was a lot of a simple transactional tasks and roles. But once they saw that we can deliver, so we saw more and more companies coming from the Nordics as well as other markets. So then we saw Swedbank coming, Wisma coming, actually having their development unit, having their IT infrastructure teams in Lithuania. And then we saw that this rate of complexity is also rising, and then Lithuania is becoming the hub of ICT, the hub of development for those Nordic companies. And nowadays, I'd say for a couple of years, we do see another third wave, I would say, where companies are choosing Lithuania for very highly complex work. They're looking for kind of niche specialists, niche tech specialists. Some of the recent investments, and Danske Bank is having their IT center of 1,000 people, where people are delivering core products for the Danish market. They're doing their end-to-end engineering, product ownership, cybersecurity, and so on. Yara is also a great example of a recent Norwegian investment, where actually it is the first center in the industry where the company has chosen Lithuania for their core logistics, supply chain management operations. We did not have those investments until, so we're very happy to welcome that. So all as we can see is now it's all about engineering, network engineering, product development, complex software products. So we're very happy to be in this third wave, and we're grateful that a lot of Nordic and Norwegian companies are choosing Lithuania for that. I'm very aware of the time, that's why I'm a bit rushing. Shortly about investments, so yeah, as I've said, Nordic companies were the first ones to come, the first ones to grow, and right now they're one of the biggest ones, as you can see. So SEB, the Swedish bank, more than 1,000 people, Danske Bank with actually 4,000 people in their GBS centers, various operations ranging from asset management, wealth management to IT, and they keep growing. They're planning to reach perhaps 5,000 on all of these centers. They're big ones, but they do keep growing. Cognizant is actually has acquired former Norwegian company Storebrand, and they continued on their successful growth. Yeah, Scandinavian GBS centers. Yeah, what we're happy to see about is that, as I've said, Nordic companies, Norwegian companies, they are choosing not only Vilnius, so we are actively promoting the investment in very many cities. As again I've said, we're very happy about Yara's investment in the country, which chose Lithuania a year ago for their logistic operation, and quite recently they did announce that they're adding another business intelligence team, so we're happy to see the trust in the country. As well as Omega, which is a Norwegian IT company, chose Klaipeda for their IT operations, and again trusted this town, and they saw the potential in that. So NKT, a Danish cable manufacturer, having their center in Kaunas, and that is a nice trend that even though companies, they do start with their initial operations, which can be finance and accounting, some IT development and so on, but later on they trust Lithuania with IoT, with business intelligence, with data science, and such complex and great functions. Yeah, so basically, I'm aware of the time, so I think I'll skip some of the slides just about the talent, as I believe the core component of our global business services and ICT infrastructure is the talent. Talent is the thing that all of our investors keep repeating, so we're very happy to see that in addition to nearly 40,000 people already employed in the industry, as well as nearly 11,000 people studying in the higher educational institutions, and nearly 3,000 yearly requalified IT specialists, we do have this very nice split, which clearly matched the needs of investors, of software developers, engineers, IT infrastructure specialists. So we do have great talent, we do have great pipeline, and we do have great governmental initiatives to increase that pipeline and to match the needs of investors even more. Robotics, as I've said, another trend in our GBS industry. More and more companies are automating their tasks in Lithuania. Nearly half of the GBS centers in Lithuania have implemented RPA solutions, or intelligent process automation solutions. Absolute majority of those automating, they do have internal development teams in their companies, meaning that they tend to requalify people themselves in their companies, so people from accounting, from finance are able to change their roles, requalify, get new skills, and start automating their tasks. And very shortly, my final message, as you can see from a couple of our announcements, as I've said, Nordic companies are a crucial part of our Norwegian, and overall Nordic companies are a crucial part of our GBS industry. They come to Lithuania with their initial operations. We're extremely happy to see them growing. We're happy to announce that. We're happy to help them out with their marketing message. So I'd like to wish you all a great day, a great event, and if your company is in Lithuania, please do bring more functions, do bring more people, and keep growing. So, and we're happy to help you with that. Thank you so much.
I just want to ask you, Monica, very briefly, has the pandemics affected the process of attracting investors from Norway and other Nordic countries?
Yeah, that's a common question that we also get from other investors and consultants that we work with. Definitely, while we were in lockdown, the whole world was in lockdown. We did have some active projects before we went into lockdown in March. Everything was on freeze. Everything was on hold in March, April, May, let's say. But once, basically, I think in Lithuania, we got back. At least our team got back to the office in June, and we started to see the easement of those requirements. In summer, the company started getting back to us again. We did have some site visits, virtual, of course. Everything that was physical before went to the virtual space. But again, we managed to have some site visits physically, of course, with all the safety procedures. But there was some freeze, but we now see companies getting back to us again, and everything is getting back on track.
But no new deals signed during the...
Please follow our social media. You'll hear some news soon, I believe.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Monica. Thank you. I'm glad she mentioned Yara many times, because this is the next company whose representative we'll hear speaking. And that will be Paul Oystein Stormørkens, who is Vice President at Yara Digital Farming. And I hope we can connect to him in a second or two. There is a delay even at conferences with a focus on digitalization, but I hope we can soon speak to Mr. Paul, who is going to say a couple of words on digitalization as key enabler for purpose-driven change. And more than 25 years of leadership experience from multiple industries and geographies.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us? We can see you and we can hear you, and the floor is yours. You can begin your presentation. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. You can start.
So I can start. Okay. Good morning, everyone. As the introduction said, my name is Paul Stormørken. I'm representing Yara, and I'm leading an area in Yara that is responsible for global farm ecosystems and partnerships. And I have chosen to talk about digitalization and also that as a key enabler for purpose-driven change within our operation. I will take you through a brief introduction to Yara. I mean, my good colleague Beda Merkelbach have, of course, introduced Yara well to Lithuanian Business Society, but just a short introduction. Established in 1905, and we are fighting for keeping our leading position as the biggest crop nutrition fertilizer company in the world, headquartered in Oslo, Norway, and we are a truly global company. We have roughly over 17,000 people, and a lot of them is, of course, in Europe, and of course the Nordics and inclusive the Baltics is a very important market for Yara. But you can also see from the slide that we have a presence in all continents, and we are continuing to grow our activity day by day. Yara updated our mission and vision a few years back, and I would say we are more and more a value-driven and a mission and a vision-driven company. I am very happy for having the position of working with ecosystems and partners, because in order to deliver on our mission and vision, it is important that we understand that this is not something we can be able to do alone. This needs to be done with thought leaders in the industry in order to be able to really responsibly feed the world and protect the planet. And I mean, collaboration is required for a world without hunger and a planet respected. So I would say I emphasize that Yara's organization is very much living in line with this and is very proud of our mission and vision. We have since I would say 2015-16 been focusing on driving change through digitalization, and digitalization is a really difficult task if you are not purposely linking it to a purpose of change. And I think a lot of companies out there are experiencing that to go digital is very linked to increased cost and also complexity. And I think that is also our experience. But at the same time, I think that we now, 4 to 5 years later, we have been able to find much more out what we really have to do in order to get traction. The main strategic priorities for Yara also back again to deliver on our mission and vision. We see that we need to help the farmer to do more with less. And when we look at the Green Deal program coming out of the European community now, we really need to emphasize that we need to help the farmer if they have to reduce their fertilizer application and chemical application as a part of that. It's super important that a company like Yara is really assisting the farmer to drive that change, and we get more and more into sustainability. Everything today is more or less about sustainability. Someone says it because it's more or less a word that is easy to take on. Others mean it more seriously, and I think that I will show through this presentation that we are really care about sustainability, resource efficiency, and waste reduction is very high on our agenda. Reduce risk. A farmer is, as a single entity, is having probably most of the risky jobs and businesses there is, and we need to be able to help to predict better field outcomes, and also that we can help them to improve the risk assessment in an early stage by using digital tools. And of course, improve the provenance and traceability. It becomes more and more, I think it's about between 75 and 80% of the consumers today are asking for more knowledge about where the agriculture products is coming from. So to enable provenance and traceability is a very important task to drive the purposeful change that we are looking for. So we are working more and more to enable farm to fork and also really to reward the positive practices back to the farmers. As a part of our global footprint, we are basically looking at areas where we, on the left side on this chart, we are looking at the high advanced farmers. At the same time, on the right side, we are really engaged with the smallholder farmers in Southeast Asia and Africa, and also in parts of Latin America. So you see the big difference between the sophisticated and the more emerging farmers is big, but at the same time, both of them is delivering to the consumer. So we are, as I said, part of the three main focus areas. We are really focusing on get that connectivity up and going. So it should not be going forward a difference of being a smallholder in an emerging market versus a more sophisticated farmer in the Western countries. Just a small introduction to some of our building blocks related to digitalization. Digitalization enables us to actually bring our knowledge from each individual Yara employee and also the partners that we are working with into a digitalized brain. And our digitalized brain called Polaris is really handling all our knowledge from our, let's say, 12 to 1400 agronomists, that we can be able to bring this knowledge out through the different solutions to the individual farmer and individual fields, where we can be able to actually plan dynamically at each field level. So you typically see here that we have advanced solutions for the advanced farmers, and we have really low-tech solutions to help the emerging farmers to come to another level. Just as an example of innovation, we have been doing in-field sensing for about 25 years, but now you can see we can use our knowledge to convert a normal mobile phone into a sensor. That means that you can much easier use what you have at hand. You can download an application, and you can actually go out in the field, take a picture, and then you will get a recommendation of how much nitrogen you should apply, or you can update your fertilizer plan with the exact status in the individual field of the farm. We have also utilizing sophisticated hyper-local weather streams. We are utilizing remote imagery. We are utilizing it in combination with in-field sensing. That means that we can easily predict how the biomass in individual fields are developing, what kind of needs they have for crop nutrition, and also the timing that is critical. So by having these tools, we can be able to assist the farmer with growing more with less. At the same time, we can also document for the farmer what have been applied and when. That is automatically going into the provenance and traceability of the product that is coming from the farm. We are also facilitating the creation of crop ecosystems, and this is really in the middle of cooperation, because I take here an example that we are doing in Finland on dairy. We have over a few years worked with the Valio, the leading dairy company, a milk company in Finland, and we have together with them established an ecosystem going from reaching from grassland seed, crop nutrition. We are deployed a full range of technologies to 50 pilot farms. We are working to optimize the grassland production that will automatically influence the cost of the milk production, because you can, by using more high quality grass, you can reduce your concentrate application on the feed mixer, and you can also monitor the quality of the milk through the milking robot. What we are doing here is to actually do an overarching data ecosystem where we can run data services on the totality of the ecosystem. At the same time, we also give the benefit to each of the companies that is participating, that they can also develop and improve their own offering to the farmer, either improve what they're doing alone, or they can connect with a partner in the ecosystem to actually drive this development together. And if we want to become better, if we want to really do digitalization with a purpose, we need to accept that we have to work together. We have to be able to share, and that means that we are sharing in a way that we are improving not only ourselves, but we are improving the total picture for the farmer. So data connectivity and sharing across the food vertical is super important. This is the basis for developing services where you can do traceability and increase food safety. You can work on greenhouse gas footprint for each of the fields in order to see if you are able to drive it down. You can be able to give fair value to the farmer for the quality that is produced. You can do new way of doing business. So you can, for example, as a part of this, you can do business models where you are reducing the risk of the farmer, more outcome-based fertilizer applications, R&D enhancement that we together can drive new innovation and also research. And of course, we can, because it's hyper-local knowledge, you can also do much more farm-specific assessment of the risk that each of the farmer have. And we can have a much more focus on what is the outcome, and we as a part of the ecosystem can then deliver and share the outcome and risk with the farmer directly. Other examples of digitalization for a purpose. We are based on large footprint of farmer connectivity, and first of all, I would like to state that the GDPR standards for data is very, very important. It is for trust and openness. So we are doing everything with the consent of the owner of the data. That is most of the cases is the farmer. So for example, the first example here we are using data and digital tools and data learning, artificial intelligence to establish a performance guarantee offering to the farmers together with a leading insurance company. This is super interesting because insurance companies today have or lack granular data from the field operations. By working with us here, they can get a completely different picture, and we can be able to drive the cost of insurance. And actually, it's only 25% of the farmers globally that have an insurance today. And you can imagine in such a risky business as farming, this should be much higher. And this is something that we are really driving in this partnership. Traceability, we are now for the first time able to drive a field to consumer traceability on coffee produced in Colombia. So we are basically taking it, digitalizing the farmer, digitalizing the cooperatives, bringing it into a blockchain platform that is bringing it to the coffee traders, to the roasters, and then enabling, in fact, the consumer to give feedback back to the farmer that have produced the coffee he or she is drinking in the place they're living. The third here is where we are working with potato and vegetable growers in the UK to drive down use of water. Water is a scarce resource, and this is an example on how we can work together with players in order to help the farmer to grow more with less. So in this case, more with less water. This is again straight into the ability to drive a positive footprint for the individual farmer and fields. Greenhouse gases, I talked about a bit earlier. We are now able to help not so well reputative palm oil producers by documenting their greenhouse gas footprint, controlling deforestation, and also giving them an opportunity to link to a carbon credit market. So this is examples of how we are bringing the digitalization, the transformation, and link to various clear purposes of what we are doing. So this was my presentation. I don't know if there are any questions.
in the audience who would like to ask a question, make a comment, ask for an expansion of an idea or maybe more examples? Yes, there is a gentleman in the audience. We'll get the microphone to him, and I hope that you can hear us. If not, I will read out the question again. Okay, the microphone is here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gediminas from Metal Production and Rocket Cluster. I would like to ask a question about R&D activities in Lithuania. Would like to know, is this happening?
Could you repeat that question? I hear you.
R&D activities in Lithuania, is that something that is happening?
I'm sorry. The noise is very difficult for me to hear. Sorry.
Can you hear us? This gives us more echo, but maybe you could hear us better. R&D activities, are there any research and development activities going on in Lithuania currently?
Oh, it's not possible for me to hear, sorry.
We have to then apologize and maybe ask to write an email or a follow-up question online. That would be the only option, I guess, because we tried several times and it didn't really work. I'm really, really sorry about this. Thank you so much for your presentation, and we stay here and thank you by giving you a big round of applause. Last but not least, before we go to have coffee, Šarūnas Belickas, the Chief Operations Officer at Cargo Stream, he's going to speak about shaping the digital future of logistics. Let's welcome him on stage.
So, good morning. So, can you hear me? I guess so, yes. So the financial sector has been digitalized and transformed for good, as we call it now fintech. And it's obvious that sector of logistics is being transformed. But the main question is, has it been changed enough yet? So I will try to answer this question, and during my presentation, I'll address the issues, the digital trends, the direction of a sector, where is it going. Also, I share my personal touch on it, and my aim and goal is that you will feel the bigger picture here, the lack of efficiency, the possibilities, and the global Europe landscape. So, as Europe Commission states, we are spending 30 billion euro per year for logistics by plane, 100 by ships, and it's not the question for 3PL logistics, but how much we are spending on trucks. Does anybody know? So it's 300 billion, right? So this is the place where I would like to focus, because here we can make a big impact by digital solutions. This is what our starting point of digitalization, implementation, and the whole Europe is like a big hub of logistics by trucks. So you see the benchmarks in public eyes, like warehouse of Amazon, where the robots fly around, everything is very efficient, and the process is very fluently. But this is like real story of 90% of cargo senders and recipients. It can be a manufacturer or distributor, right? So inefficiency due paper documents, many communication channels, lack of real-time notifications, bad experience because logistics companies are using Skype, email, phones. So a lot of fragmentation, a lot of efficiency, and this kind of problems leads to environmental loss and financial loss, because like 50% of trucks are not fully loaded in Europe. So the CO2 emission, the lack of connectivity between cargo senders and logistic companies leads to those kind of ecological problems. And funny thing is that there is enough cargo in market, there is enough transportation, but everybody is not connected. So if you call it email connection, that's fine, but in my eyes and cargo stream eyes, there is no connectivity in Europe between cargo senders and recipients and logistic partners. It's only single process. I guess you already get the point why I'm speaking about whole Europe and not only about Lithuania, let's say, and Norway. Because imagine you are a Norway company, so you can be efficient internally, but if your supplier in Italy is inefficient, so the whole logistic chain is inefficient and doesn't work smoothly. So let's say 10 years ago, business persons came with the idea to create marketplaces to connect cargo sender with logistic partners and recipients, but it's still, again, one single process. You can book transportation or you can find the cargo, but everything moves again to the old-fashioned way by email, Skype, paper documents, and so on. So I think that it's not the biggest, the best solution for that. And of course, there is transparency, security issues. So basically, the cheapest offer wins, and it's not the best choice. So now is the trend digital forwarding. So IT company creates marketplace and tries to cut the middleman as classic forwarder in the supply chain and puts themselves in the same spot. So I don't see any innovation here. That only the same classical forwarding company with more savvy in terms of technology, having own marketplace and so on. But there is bigger issue here. We have good example and good life lesson. What is happening when everything goes to one hand? Let's speak about Facebook. Now the data and privacy became weapons. So German platform Sender.com just acquired Uber Freight. They're expanding hundreds of persons as employees, right? And they're trying to merge everything in one place. So because logistics is quite sensitive sector, and I don't think that it's very good to have only one, the main player in this sector. And it's very bad that logistic companies, I often hear during the meetings, that they imagine that connectivity can be if there is only one strong player across Europe. I totally disagree. So then I was following the logistics sector because my education is IT and digital government. I thought that it's a better way to connect the supply chain or logistic chain in one place. that sender can work with their existing partners, not with public, different partners every time. So the sender is booking the logistic partners. The logistic partners know exactly the order. Everything is changed in real time. During supply chain, the recipient is anticipating and changing warehouse activities according to the notifications and changes, and everybody are connected. And the main result is that this is real time, this is fully digitalized, and there is no issue with, let's say if you are not a registered user, it still can be done. It's enough only 2 persons of logistic chain is in our system. But it's not the most important thing that I would like to share. So we have digital solutions in Europe as digital main freight document SMR, right? We have convention, we have accepted that Europe countries accepted this convention. Let's say Lithuanian accepted in 2011, Norway accepted just this during this year. Only Germany and Italy are out from this, convention. But I know that we are trying to give second, thought on that, and we will join maybe next year. So in theory, everybody is connected, and we can use digital document. But to be honest, nobody is using. Even Denmark was like pioneer and driver for this. But then we speak with huge companies in Denmark. They're using paper SMR. So again, why I joined from IT and marketing logistics sector. When I was teenager, my first touch on business was I was sending invoices and CMR by fax to Slovakia and Poland when my father wasn't at home. And after 20 years, we came across that in France, like 20% of CMRs are sent by fax even today. So I don't think that France is digital happy at all. Yeah. So, okay. Now we talk about only digital solutions, and I felt that we forgot something. And I asked a friend from Hamburg, because Hamburg is digital hub for logistics in Germany and for classical logistics, of course. So this is well-known high-level executive from Germany. He has great experience in logistics, so let's see what he has to say.
Moin from Hamburg, Germany. Sarunas, your topic today is shaping the digital future of logistics. And when I'm thinking about this topic, I'm not so much thinking about all the technical innovations, the technical solutions we are all discussing a lot. I'm thinking mainly about people, because digitalization is man-made, and it is our faith as well to turn this into a successful transformation or not. That's why, for me, people are key. Why? First of all, digitalization will change the value and the concrete work employees are adding to their companies. That's why I believe employers need to have ideas and concrete plans how to support this transformation on the middle to long term. Another, I believe, very important success factor to shape the digital future of logistics lies in corporate culture and leadership. Logistics companies are more hierarchic and tightly managed by trend due to the nature of our process, cost, and efficiency-driven business. Shaping the digital future therefore means for me as well to transform your organization, your corporate culture, and your leadership in a way to support a higher engagement of people, agility, and innovation. That's the biggest and most sustainable lever you have to shape your digital future. care about leadership, care about people, and your corporate culture.
So, thank you, Karsten. I totally agree. We forgot people, education, and leadership because I have practical examples. When we implement our system to big factory, the project managers and other employees don't feel the leadership from management, and this is why the resistance is created. And we feel that we need at first educate that employees won't lose their jobs. They just have to adapt the digital solutions, and they will have possibility to add value through that. And this transformation needs to happen. And of course, it's clear that the sector of logistics has not been changed enough. And maybe it happened because technological companies have bad approach, influenced by venture capital funds. And our approach is do not disrupt logistics, just make it more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As Sharunas is here with us, he will definitely hear the questions, should there be any. So please feel free to raise your hands, ask questions, make comments, because we still have a couple of minutes and we can discuss. Sharunas, I know that you have partly answered this, but if you had to say in one sentence, why is it that this sector is so slow in becoming digitalized?
Up is the lack of leadership, and I feel that nobody explains in detail that digital solutions, it doesn't mean that we are firing a lot of people. We are just changing the roles, and we are trying to add value that person could have more time for self-education and self-improvement, not by doing just like technical task every day, and there is no improvement in that process. Yeah.
But when we say that there is lack of leadership, why is that then? Does this have to do with the lack of prestige, talking about this sector?
I think that it happened organically, that logistics sector is quite hierarchical and classical, you can say, and I think that trend is moving right direction. But again, in terms of fintech or e-commerce, the approach to disrupt was good. And then digital companies tried to disrupt the logistics sector. They approached resistance. And the resistance means like double resistance, right? So I think that if technological companies will change their approach, the resistance will decrease. And after 5 years, we have efficient logistics.
But basically, there are no countries that are doing way better than others. Even Lithuania is not doing worse than Norway.
It's hard to compare because, again, IKEA was the benchmark. Now Amazon is a benchmark. But unfortunately, I cannot share the brands, but you would be surprised what kind of brands are using logistic by email. So,
would you give us a name or two?
Sorry.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to follow up on this? I will maybe then ask something more general. Do you see room for cooperation? Where do you see room for cooperation for Lithuania and Norway in the sector of logistics?
Of course, there are many possibilities because, let's say, furniture industry is quite related from Lithuania to Norway and vice versa. IT solutions are created in Norway. It's a very strong country in terms of technology. Lithuanians are savvy enough for this kind of creation. So there are like at least two starting points where we could cooperate, and Nordics could join and try to compete with Germany or Dutch.
one final moment where you can ask your questions before we thank Sharunas and move to our coffee break. If not, then thank you so much for your presentation and your answers. Let's show him a sign of appreciation, please. We'll get back here at 11:10, which means 25 minutes for coffee and all the other things that you may want to do during the break. So let's meet back here in 25 minutes. Thank you.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way.
Alio. Diana. Jaučiu, kad negirdi. Ar girdi dabar?
Girdi?
Aš girdžiu.
Aš tai tavęs negirdžiu.
Negirdi, ne?
Bet galvoju, negirdžiu.
Tuoj. O dabar? O.
Tiesiog galim šitą ištraukti ir aš praeisiu trumpam. Čia jo gal.
Dabar girdi?
Jo, girdžiu.
Girdi, ne? Tai reiškia, va taip kažkaip ir reikia daryti.
Jeigu neišeina, tai galit palikti tiesiog.
Ok, čia yra 1, 2. Diana, girdi mane?
Girdžiu ją.
Taip. Gali dar pasakyti kažką?
Na, dabar ir girdėjau.
Super, girdžiu. Turbūt ačiū ir iki.
Gerai, jo, ok.
Ciao. Vienas, du.
later on. Because I would love to come and put it. Or maybe here.
And then when I come up, we can move it forward next to this one. I'm thinking if we leave it here now, and then we move it over here.
Yeah, don't throw it to the screen.
Yeah. It's really heavy.
So was the chair.
Somehow I know how heavy it is.
Yeah. There we go.
That allows me to take a really nice picture. Is his name on there? Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We can keep it there, can't we? From
The
now?
only thing that will not be, there won't be a surprise. Because we don't want everyone to come and leave. Yeah?
That's a good point.
Sorry, can I take it?
Yes?
We have solutions for that.
We have solution to put it here. No, 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 no. It won't look. No, no, no. Maybe we can put it just here with the all those bubble wrap. No, 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 no. Don't do it without bubble wrap. Because it's really fragile. Yeah.
But if you put the bubble wrap there,
Yeah, that the speaker doesn't trip over it.
and then we
Do like this.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
but then I can lift it up when we come to it.
I can come and help. Sorry?
You have the picture.
Okay, thank you.
There.
You can actually put that under just a cover.
Yeah.
Like this?
Perfect. Kjetil said it was a good experience from home.
Okay. I think everyone can see now what we're doing in the room.
Yeah, yeah. kaip reikia kalbėti, reikia duoti klausimą.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down.
Hi everyone, we are nearly on time and thank you so much for that. It's very important that we keep it to the schedule, and we will begin our second part of presentations. I have heard comments that there are so few events these days that networking has become so crucial, and it's so hard to drag yourself out of the coffee room. But there will be a dinner at the ambassador's residence after this has happened, so you'll have possibilities to do that. And that's unfortunately not a message for those observing us online, but for those who are here. Let's move on then. How to tame a Norwegian investor. Telesofta's success story will be presented to us by the CEO of Telesoftas, Mr. Algirdas Stonys. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Algirdas Stonys, and I'm presenting my company Telesoftas today. Perhaps I'm just, is this a clicker? Yeah. So how to tame a Norwegian investor, a success story. All of you, is there some Lithuanian companies here? Raise your hand. Oh, a lot of Lithuanian. Is there any Lithuanian companies that got investment from Norway? Aha, much less. And is there Lithuanian companies that would like to get investment from Norway, Norwegian money? Oh, a lot of Lithuanian companies. So you see, it's we have a saying in Lithuania, it's very good to get money from Norway. Norwegians are very rich, but it's kind of difficult to get Norwegian investment. You have to do a little bit of work for it. So I'm going to tell you a story. First of all, about Telesoftas. So I founded this company in 2004, and we have at the moment 230 full-time employees, 6 branches across the world, 10 million revenues annual, with about 1 million in EBITDA, and employee number is steadily growing. So steadily growing that we received award from Financial Times for the fast growth as well. Deloitte has awarded us as a fast growing company 500. So it's a pretty successful growth. And in Lithuania we exist in every major city. That would be Klaipėda, Kaunas, and Vilnius. Also, we have office in Zurich. Next to Zurich, in Volketsville, actually, it's a company, Click-On GmbH, that belongs to Telesoftas. As well, we have representative office in San Francisco and Amsterdam. And Telesoftas is doing purely IT development. So we provide outsourced IT development, basically bespoke software development. If you want some product to be created, you come to Telesoftas, just like Ferrari did with Viaggio Rosso, Viavi Corporation with a lot of American telecoms, Blackstone Group with Luminor, BBC, Yellow Dog, Teledu, Smithsonian Museums, Aon Insurance, and many other companies. So yes, it's as well owned. My company is also owned 35% of Telesoftas belongs to a Norwegian company, Touch Technology AS. I bet nobody of you knows what this company is all about. But it's a very strange setup. So we have 5% for options, and 60% still belongs to me. But how did that happen? And it all started with networking. The events similar to the ones that we are all participating today, as I'm a very social person. And what I do in Telesoftas mostly, though I'm the owner, but I'm actually a team leader for a sales team. So what I do direct sales. I approach customers directly. I have technical background personally, so I can talk and find out what kind of demand. So there is one big show that is happening in Barcelona for a long time. It's called Mobile World Congress. A lot of people who are working in telco sector, and telco sector, everybody work in one way or another. Everybody coming to that event. So Barcelona, very nice city, 2008. It's Spain, a lot of sangria being drunk, a lot of networking events, and here I meet some Norwegian people. So actually I met Lars Wenkerud, Evan Hovde, and Matthias Lindsted from Touch Technology Norway. And they tell me that they are also very fast-growing Norwegian company from Oslo, and they are as well Gazelle 500 company. And Touch Technology is an expert in mobile voice recording. If you have called to the bank, or you have called somewhere maybe into the trading company, and you might have heard that voice message that, oh, your voice is going to be recorded because of the quality. So that message is being played, I bet, from Touch Technology mobile voice recording system. So compliance recording, call center recording, a lot of recording, and they told me, okay, we have this wonderful idea for that product, and we need an engineering team in Telesoftas who knows how to do that, how to record from conferencing call equipment, PBX, and we need a team in Lithuania because we cannot find it in Norway, and or there is somebody, but then maybe they're too expensive or too busy. So I said, yes, why not? Let's build a team of 8 people. And actually from 2008 to 2014, there was a golden age for touch technology for our Norwegian partners. And it was in no way any talks about no investment, and in no ways no talks about any shares of the Telesoftas. It was purely business relations. So business relation came first. We built that voice recording product, and we sold it to Telenor, we sold it to Network Norway. Actually, Netcom bought it, and it was incorporated into product Trådløs Bedrift. And actually, Telia, when they bought Netcom, they told that this is the best product in all Telia group. And then Netcom got sold to Telia very successfully. So, and Danske Bank as well. Well, Geir Oyen, if you know him, he was very, very happy with the voice recording. And in 2012, Telesoftas had a challenge. My company had a challenge because the Apple technologies and Google technologies has entered the market very, very fast. And what happened is that I understood, and everybody understood, that we need to have more people, we need to expand our company and to recruit more Apple developers and more Google developers to build those iPhone applications and Android applications, because they're in a big demand, and the future of the company is going to be there. And unfortunately, not in voice recording, because this customer is too small. And as well, on the other hand, touch technology, they wanted to expand to governmental sector, to do service, voice recording service for emergency services. And I told them, we just called them and explained that Telesoftas at the moment we need more money to expand, to build a bigger office, to hire more people. We need additional funding. And I'm currently looking for additional supporter. And they told me, hey, why don't you sell some shares of your company? Because it would be also beneficial to us, and we believe in you. And basically, because we already had a successful business relations for 4 years, they said yes. And what happened is that for more than, since 2014, we have registered Touch Technology as an official shareholder of Telesoftas. They paid us, well, I don't know, a lot of money. It was 70,000 at first, then it was again 70,000 and 100,000, and it was basically a friendship deal. And for that, the development team of Telesoftas that initially built that technology for touch, they basically finished their work, and we only have only one person working for them right now, and it's just an honorary employee, and he's actually not doing any more work for touch technology. And we're just now partners in the company building. And basically by bringing this company to our group of shareholders, basically before that, I was totally alone. and I had no reporting. I basically could do whatever I want. And only by bringing the Norwegian shareholder into our company, in Telesoftas, we now have official board. We have budget planning. We have so much more process and so much more accountability in the company. We also have women board members. We have even additional consultants who consulting our board. And basically, these guys, they've been in the business in Norway since 70s. And Lithuania have gained independence only in 90s. And I established my company in 2004, and I did it from the dormitory room. So I definitely had no know-how. So just by bringing like a qualified, experienced Norwegian entrepreneurs into our company, basically helped to boost and helped to achieve all these wonderful goals that we're achieving now. So it's of course, it's a dream of any entrepreneur to achieve your vision and achieve your dream. And it's totally fine to do it when you can release some of the shares, be it majority or not majority, to your friends and partners. So I think the key factors for why we have, basically we had very, very smooth transactions between Norwegians and Telesoftas, and we attracted the investment from them very, very quickly. I think it only took 2 weeks to get first payment of 70,000. So it was a super quick deal, and this all happened because they absolutely knew everything about our company. They participated in our summer parties. They participated in Christmas parties. They knew exactly how much salaries everybody getting, at least whom are working for their team that was building their product. And they trusted us because they knew that everything we say, it's true. And we didn't have anything that, because with transparency, we gained their trust because there was nothing to hide. And of course, the commitment that our team was doing to build their product have proved that Telesoftas will be a valuable asset and valuable investment for their company. So the fact that basically Touch Technology stopped paying us money in 2013 because we were not building that product anymore because it was already built, and they started receiving dividends and payments from Telesoftas. So now we pay money to them for being our shareholders. So this investment is all came back, and it was a really, really beneficial cooperation, and it is still going on really, really well. So I think the key to success is a very simple one. It's transparency, trust, and commitment. This is why Norwegians love Lithuanians, because the Lithuanians are doing great job. And thank you very much, Lithuanians, for being such an awesome people. And I'm sure you're gonna get your investment. Thank you. I was told to have some question session. Maybe somebody would like to ask something. I see Lina would like to give some question.
Is there anyone with a question?
How much of your revenue comes from Lithuania, from Norway, and from other countries?
Thank you.
So 90% of the revenue is coming from USA, UK, and Germany. And only few revenue, I think, very symbolical revenue now is coming from Norway. And in Lithuania, I think we get about 5% still. But I hope Lithuania is going to grow soon.
So what is your recipe for networking events? Like, let's say you find yourself in a party like this, there are some Norwegians, and you want their money. What is the next step you take?
Well, first of all, of course, every single networker, you know, you might go to some American networking events and you might say like, oh, you need to go and collect all those business cards from everybody. And then, right. I think in Norway, it's probably not going to work like that. You need to get to know to each other. I think what's of course, speaking is important, but what is more important is to listen to what people say, and especially if he is an investor and he wants to put that money, he wants to put it to some good use, to have it like to be smart. Basically, our investors, Matthias and Lars, they are not in outsourcing business and they are not developers. They're purely in voice recording. But still, they would like to get to go to the board. They would like to get to see the numbers and to basically contribute in some way, maybe find some customers. So you need to listen to people and find are you a good match? Are you going to be friends with them? So that's what's most important. It's probably not going to happen in one event, like for me, but if you keep working continuously, absolutely it's going to happen.
Let's see if there is anyone else who would be willing to ask a question or make a comment. How has the COVID-19 affected your growth? That's probably the question you get from everyone.
Oh, yes. Of course, IT business. So as Telesoftas is a general outsourcing company, so we are very diversified. Absolutely, Telesoftas has been in contacts with many airline industries. We had projects with Baltic Aviation Academy, even with Norwegian Airlines, with many tourism companies. Of course, those projects had to be frozen for obvious reasons. However, we have seen like a double or triple growth in logistics industry, in health tech industry. So just yesterday we published an article about the Congenica, the new system that we work with a partner in UK. It's in the genetics field. It's analyzing the genome of people. So at this moment, COVID impact is not impacting. Of course, some areas that have grown, perhaps they have grown due to COVID, and the areas
For example?
that, well, like logistical industry or e-commerce, absolutely, it was a big surge. However, that surge in demand for more e-shops to be built and more mobile shops to be built is decreasing now, so its market is already saturated. So I think but it has absolutely compensated the drop in demand for new rental car applications or like less demand for hotel applications.
Let's see if there is one final question in the audience, and then we'll wrap it up. No? You seem to be a very happy company. I'm sure Norwegians want to be friends with you. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
We'll go back online again, and the system concerning questions has started working. So if you listen and if you feel like you do have a question and you do want to ask it, save it for the end of the presentation. If there is time, we will try to do that. And I want to present the next speaker, who is Group Servant Leader and also CEO at Miles, has been in different management positions in the IT industry in the last 30 years, and that's Tom Georg Olsen, who is going to speak to us remotely about trust as the leadership currency. So in a couple of seconds, I hope we connect to him and he's going to deliver our presentation to us.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I hope so. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to talk to this excellent conference. Unfortunately, well, I really look forward to visit the beautiful city of Vilnius, but unfortunately, I'm back here in my home office and couldn't be present. So, but I still try to share my ideas, thoughts, and experience as well as I can. Okay, this is my background. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think I just pass on to today's topic. And that is called it Trust as a Must, the currency of leadership. And I will say something about what is trust and why is it so important. And the second part will be how to implement trust-based leadership. The photo you see on the left-hand side is actually from a trip we made in Luen in Norway last year with our colleagues and the partners. And it was a very challenging trip, as you probably can see, where when we talk about trust, we really had to trust ourselves, we have to trust the team, had to trust the organizer and trust the equipment. So that be the of this talk. Okay, since I will be using Miles as an example through the presentation, I'll give you a little bit of information about our company. We call ourselves a value-driven IT company, founded in Bergen in Norway in 2005, so we are 15 years old this year, about 180 employees and a revenue of about 25 million euros. As you see on top, we are situated in 5 Norwegian cities, and also we are very proud to be situated in Vilnius. Talking about Vilnius, this is my great co-founder and colleague, Yara, which is running Vegvisir, which is the name of our local Vilnius company. They want to be a driving force. The ambition is to be a driving force for the Lithuania's IT community. And the company is based on the same values and vision as the mother company, Miles, established 2 years ago, and there are 20 employees, and Göran and his colleagues has quite ambitious growth plan going forward. They build custom software for any company and minimum viable products for startups. And their focus is to build trust-based partnership with their customers. Okay, so let's start. What is trust and why is it so important? Well, there are different definitions of what trust is. And this is, I think, is one of the better. It talks about trust as something that has to do with reliability, confidence, and feeling safe, both physically and emotionally. One book that I read some years ago is from Stephen Covey. It's called The Speed of Trust. And he has an academic definition of what is actually trust between people. And I'm not going to go into details here, but if you look at the top layer here, it says that trust between people consists of two main components. It's the character of the person and it's the person's competence. And in Miles, actually, we have our values is professional authority and warmth, which is actually two values that build trust. This is a survey from 2014. This is the latest one, actually, from Our World in Data, showing trust all over the world, trust levels. The darker color, the higher trust, and the lighter color, the lower trust. And you will see that not surprisingly, Scandinavia is very high on trust. Some are a little bit surprised about China, that they're also high in trust, but I think that they probably define trust a little bit different than what we do, at least in Scandinavia. Some years ago, I had a talk in Johannesburg in South Africa, you see on the bottom of Africa. And before I went to the stage, I asked the organizer, is there anything I have to think about talking about trust in South Africa? And he said, well, among the audience, probably everyone has been living while there were apartheid. So when you talk about trust, keep that in mind. That made me quite humble. I also went to talk to in Dubai, and after the talk, a woman approached me, and she said, do you know what I think about trust? And I said, I was curious, I said, no, I don't know. And he said, I think trust is childish. That wasn't one of the associations I had with trust. So that means that we consider trust in different ways. Unfortunately, trust is declining in most places in the world. As using US as an example, if you go back to the 60s, the level of trust in the USA was about 70%, like Scandinavia today. But today, or in 2014, it has dropped to 35-ish. And maybe now with the new president or last president, there may be that they will fall even lower. Who knows? If you take zoom in a little bit on Europe, you see that Norway is very high on 74%, and Lithuania is 21%, which seems to be a very big difference. We've been in Lithuania for quite a while, 2 years with the company, but Yara has been working there several more years. And his experience is that the people are not different. The country, the national level of trust may be different, but our experience is that people are just like in Norway. People want to be trusted, and people want to show that they deserve trustworthiness. So it's actually not a big difference when it comes down to a person level, and that is good. This is an old telephone box in my hometown, Bergen. This is actually a 100% trust-based library. That means that you can go in there, you can pick a book and take it with you. You don't have to register, no GDPR or anything. You just take the book and you leave, and hopefully you bring it back. Or maybe you bring back another book. So this is 100% trust. This is another one from one of the ferries or bus stations in Norway, where it's actually, you can pick your food and your drink, and you see the price, different prices. Unfortunately, this is in Norwegian. And you put it on a plate. You put the money on a plate, or you VIPs, or you transfer the money on different payment systems. But it's no staff in the cafeteria, no staff. So this is also an example of high trust. Unfortunately, it's not the same in all countries. This is from the UK, and they have a survey or research saying that the self-scan shoplifters are stealing about £3 billion a year. That's a lot of money. So what they do actually is that when they pick the avocados, which is quite expensive, they push in that they're taking carrots, which is probably the least expensive in the veg section. So, and of course, this shows that a lack of trust or low trust is very, very expensive. They also contacted the Norwegian companies in this area, which has self-scan machines, and they said they had no difference from before. So there's been not more shoplifting after they introduced it, but in the UK, it's a big problem. This is a survey done by Harvard Business Review, cultivating trust to gain competitive advantage. And this shows that if you have high trust in a company, you get a lot of internal benefits. Like it contributes to a stronger internal culture of trust. It makes us a better business partner. This is what the employee says. It helps with employee attraction and retention and so forth. So it's a lot of advantages being in high trust organization. Paul Sack is the founder of Center for Neuroeconomic Studies and a professor at Claremont Graduate University. Has written a book called Trust Factor, which I will recommend. And he says that now the research is unquestionable. Trusted employees are more motivated, more productive, less stressed, and having less sick leaves. And that obviously is a competitive advantage for those organizations that have high trust. So how to implement this trust-based leadership? Because it's not only to wish it or to put it on a piece of paper, but you have to actually implement it in your organization. Well, this is our business model. We have defined a philosophy consisting of values, vision, and leadership philosophy. And we think that if we implement that very well, very thoroughly, and build a culture based on it, we will have success. We will have great performance and we will have results. We are a company with our budgets. We hardly have quantitative goals. We think that if we build the right culture, the results would come. And the results may be satisfied customers, satisfied employees, solid financials, and growth. So a trust-based culture is built on the following. First, and this is actually first because the leader has to go be a role model. The leader has to trust the employees. That's the first step. The second one is that the employees have to trust the leader, which means depending on how the leader is, he will be trusted or not. And the third one, which is actually more important because it involves more people, is that the employees must trust each other. So I picked 4 what I call building blocks of trust-based culture that I'm going to share with you. These are how to discipline recruiting, design for autonomy, develop relations, and dare to care. So I start with the first one, how to discipline recruiting. Well, I call recruiting the birthplace of the culture, because this is the place where you can actually pick the people that actually is a culture add or a culture fit. So it's a very big responsibility to recruit people if you have a conscious about how you're going to build your culture. So when we do recruiting, we do what we call value-based recruiting. As I told you previously, our values are professional, authority, and warmth. So we actually have a process that defines whether the person accepts or can be accepted within the professional area. But we also think it's important that he can be a good colleague and a good consultant. So that we call the warmth, how he behaves, how his personality is. So we do actually both headhunting and heart hunting. One way to find out whether the candidates are right for our company, of course, we do a lot of interviews. But the most important part is references. And in our company, no one is employed without we have done 10 references, which is very high, at least in Norway. I never heard of someone doing more than 5. So we do 10. So we're quite well known and famous for that number. But it gives us a very accurate or insight in the candidates, so that we are sure that if you start in MICE, it will be right for you and it will be right for us. So it's about knowing people, and this I like very much. Before you marry a person, you should first make them use a computer with slow internet to see who they really are. And this is how we think about references. Interviews are a very special situation where they actually tell you who they are. But when we use references, we can talk to people that have been working with them for years and see their good days and bad days and their weaknesses and strengths in a different way that we can actually find out during interviews. So the second one is design for autonomy. Peter Drucker, which is known as the founder of modern leadership philosophies, it says that most of what we call management consists of making it difficult for people to get their work done. And I think that many employees think that they would have been much more efficient and they can make just as good decisions as their leaders. And if they were not there, they would probably have a higher productivity. So there's a continuous battle against internal bureaucracy. what is important is to reduce the company's BMI, and it's not body mass index, but bureaucracy mass index, to find out how we can actually make it easier to work in a company. This is the CEO, previous CSO of the biggest bank in Norway. He said back two to three years back that the main challenge in large organization is speed. And if they don't launch new products or services faster, they will be beaten by their competitors. And he said further, he said that we have to give more trust and control less to trigger the full potential of our employees. And this is the largest bank in Norway. You know, banks are very much compliant driven. So this was quite nice to see that he was going in front with this kind of philosophy. This is a book of David Graeber, which I actually haven't read yet, but I have it on my bucket list to read. But a friend of mine read it, and he said it's a very good book about bullshit jobs. But it's time to get rid of both bullshit jobs that are not creating any value, routines that actually makes it more difficult to run the company, and tasks that is not creating value at least. For instance, like you write a report, you spend several days to write the report, and then hardly no one reads it. So, but there is a balance here. You can't have 100% bureaucracy, is not very effective, and anarchy is not very effective either. So you have to find for your own company where the balance should be to make the maximum value creation. Some companies maybe require a little bit more bureaucracy and some less. But the interesting thing with trust is that you can actually change your employees. I normally say that the employees consist of two different elements. The first one is their personality, which is very hard to change. And the second one is the regime that they're working under, the system they're working under. And if you can change the system, you can actually change the employee as well. And they experience autonomy when they're giving trust. And that means that they get a more spirit of ownership and are being more accountable, increase their accountability when they experience that trust. So autonomy in Miles, for instance, is that our employees decide which conferences or courses to attend, when to purchase a new PC or a mobile, which project to join. And they do that without interfering with or consulting their leaders. And there's full transparency. So you can see on our internet what computer everyone had bought, which conferences they attend, and so forth. I think that transparency is quite important. So the third one that's going goes, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go a little bit fast now. Develop relations. Great Place to Work says that trust develops through relations, and it's an expression for the quality of the relation. Well, in Miles, we have a lot of social events every year, most of them with colleagues, but also with partners and family, to build those relations between our people and also build relations back to their home, to their partners, to their children. And this is my, I have been involved in football for a long time, and I'm a Man U fan, and Yara, my colleague, is a Liverpool fan. And we had a tough week because both teams lost with 5 goals a couple of days ago. So I think that this also shows that Solskjaer and Clough need to have very high relational skills to get back to bring up the motivation again and the confidence in their teams. When we work with customer, we tend to base it on the trust-based cooperation with partners. And that is very important, and that's one of the things that I think we have succeeded with our customers, both in Norway and in Lithuania. And we also have called Miles engagement model. We're not only wishing that there will be trust, but we also work very thoroughly to establish that trust through the partnership. So the last one, dare to care. You don't build a business, you build people, and the people build a business. It's very important to understand that in today, with very highly educated employees, you need to give them more responsibility, and you have to actually delegate more decisions to them, and they will grow on it. Our DNA is, as I said, the values, professional authority and warmth, but also a vision of being an outstanding workplace, which is quite a high standard to set. We have also participated in Great Place to Work, and we've been #1 in Norway two times, and also #2 in Europe, among more than 1,000 companies. And the last 5 years, we've been rewarded with an innovation ranked among the 25 most innovative companies in Norway, and that is based on how we run the company, how we lead a company and operate a company. And this is, going in for landing now. This is late Mother Teresa. And she went to conference in Hong Kong many years ago, and there were 600 men in black suits in the audience. And she was having a 1-hour talk about leadership. And she went up to the stage and she said the following: "Do you know your people? Do you love them?" And then she went down. It took about 15, 20 seconds, and that was her 1-hour speak. And it was a lot of applause. And she was very well known for that speech, very short one though, among her other things that she had done. She did so well. So the building blocks of trust-based culture, as I said, is discipline, recruiting, design for autonomy, develop relations, and dare to care. And yeah, this is the end of my speech. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting. I'm sure people would have many things that they would want to ask you, but we are running out of time, so I'll just make a brief comment, and then I think we will thank you. I just want to say that in Lithuania, we also have these trust-based libraries, for example, but what I have noticed is that people only leave the books that they no longer want to read. So I don't know what that says about our trust. But anyway, that's just a small commentary following up on what you have said. It was very, very interesting, very many important points to take home. We hope to see you in Vilnius sometime later, and then we get to ask all the questions we have wanted to ask. We need to now move on to our next speaker, who has joined us remotely, and hopefully there's time for questions, and we will be able to have a short discussion afterwards. She's among the key figures at Telenor Group, contributing to building the artificial intelligence research and innovation ecosystem in Norway, holds several high-profile regional and national appointments in AI, member of EU high-level expert group on artificial intelligence. So she's going to be speaking about artificial intelligence from hype to reality. What does the future bring us? And this will be a closing keynote delivered by Dr. Yara Martinkėnaitė, who is Vice President at Telenor Research. So let's give her a bit of an applause so she feels welcome.
Can you hear me? I cannot hear you for some reason. Very strange.
Hear you, and that's what matters.
Very good. Very good. Looks like I cannot hear anyone in the audience, but that's okay.
You can start.
Okay. So just confirm if you can hear me and can see me.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone. So as probably Javil already said, my name is Eva, and I am going to present to you today. I'm going to talk to you about artificial intelligence. And you know, when I was asked to present this topic by Lena, I remember that exactly 1 year ago, I was giving a very similar presentation to the European Association of Small Lease Companies. I mean, those basically guys who sell insurance and lease products. And then after this presentation, one senior executive came back to me and said, Eva, everything you say, it makes sense. I really, really think it's really nice. But what does it have to do with me? How do I relate to this AI and machine learning? Why should I care? And how should I build business on top of it? And actually, it struck me because a lot of the things that we talk and we hear about AI in general these days is, to me, sometimes unreal. So my goal for today, within this 20 minutes, is to de-hype and demystify artificial intelligence. If there's one thing I would like you to take from this presentation, is the following. AI is not science fiction. AI is actually hard work. I'm working in Telenor, one of the largest telecommunication operators in Scandinavia and also in Southeast Asia. A company that has a dedicated research department, and I'm heading the team of 15 senior research scientists, data scientists, and machine learning researchers who actually build AI research and move research to production. So today I will, when dehyping and demystifying AI, I will use quite a lot of examples. And I will also try to show you some of the my learnings or what actually it takes to bring this technology to business. So I'm not going to hype you more than it's already hyped. The good news is that if you look at what Gartner is saying, and Gartner is using these hype cycles of new technologies, including AI, for 2020, Gartner is actually saying that the peak of inflated expectations towards AI is actually going down. And that's very good news. It's good news for people like me, for many people like build AI products, because it says that those inflated expectations towards this technology that will save the world, it will change everything by magic, is not going to happen. So in fact, AI, even better machine learning, data-driven AI, is starting giving some results, and it starts showing potential. The benefits for businesses are becoming a reality. And this is definitely the good news. So I tried to structure my presentation in sort of 3 chunks. Very briefly, I will give you an introduction, a very short introduction with a couple of examples of what AI is actually, or what it is actually doing, and how should I, or many of you should relate to it, like that businessman 1 year ago asked me. Then I will talk a little bit about, okay, so what do you do with this? How do you create and capture value? And also what's next? So a couple of trends from the AI world. So let me start by saying that in fact, there are, I would even say like 2 worlds of AI. One world, I call it a science fiction world. The science fiction world where people see AI as a threat to human race. By the way, they have some valid points. And this world is the artificial general intelligence. The hypothesis there is that machines, computers, can think and function similar as we humans. But there's also another view of AI that I subscribe to even more. This is called the real world AI, or I call the real world AI, or artificial narrow intelligence. So what is it? Artificial narrow intelligence says that machines have actually some abilities to perform very specific tasks. For example, when you go on Google and search NCC Forum in, or Business Forum in Vilnius 2020, I bet you the Google will give you some logos, perhaps our pictures, and it will recognize and tag those relevant pictures for your search. So what actual machines are able to do is to solve specific problems. Just give one example. For the past 3 years, or even more, let's say, I've been working with scientists and machine learning researchers to actually solve some of the problems for telco business, but also for other businesses in Norway and outside. So if someone asks me, so Yeva, what is AI? Unfortunately, the term is very unfortunate, artificial intelligence. So if I can say what that is, I would probably say that this is science or a set of methods that makes machines smarter. Computer systems that have some type of intelligence, meaning that they can do some intelligent tasks. For example, like we as humans can. We can perceive the environment around us. We can learn based on experience. We can reason why things happen. And more than that, we can plan. So what you see here on the screen, you see some different colors. And the reason why I put different colors, because current status of AI, business and research, is we are very good at perceiving. Machines are very good at capturing, identifying images or objects in images, for example. Increasingly, machines are good at learning, but learning happens in very often a very limited environment. You've probably heard about AlphaGo, or AI beats the chess players. Yes, that's so true. It learns and optimizes interactions, but in a very limited environment. But we haven't seen self-driving cars around us, like at scale. Even when we talk about voice assistants, like Siri or Alexa, well, we are becoming concerned and maybe ask some questions. So why are these voice assistants why not really having any empathy? And when it starts being a conversation, they fail. Yes, because learning spontaneous speech, it's something that machines cannot do properly. Even the Googles and Facebooks of the world do not deliver it. So in a nutshell, the bottom line is that machines today are very good at perceiving external information based on large amounts of data. Machines are increasingly good at learning, but they are not good at planning or reasoning. We are far, far away from that. And here's the thing, the most fancy and I would say advanced field of AI today is machine learning. And these examples that I gave are examples of machine learning. And what is machine learning? Machine learning is a subfield of AI that actually allows computers to learn directly from data without being explicitly programmed. So the more training data you feed your algorithms, the better they are at predicting. So basically, you can also think of AI as sort of a set of methods for prediction based on data. I gave you this picture for a reason. There are two different pictures. One is that machines can really recognize. On the left hand, you see a cat jumping over the grass. So if you actually Google and see a cat jumping over the grass, you will get a pretty representative picture. But if you ask the machines to interpret the picture on your right, what is happening there? Can you tag people? Yes, you can possibly tag. But can you explain the picture? Can you reason something, what's happening there? Machines cannot do this today. Andrew Ng, one of the famous machine learning scientists, the chairman and co-founder of Coursera and the chief scientist in Baidu, he made a very good and simple explanation. He said, the way to look at machine learning is to look at A versus B relationship. What machines can really do, or the following. If you look at the input data, you put the picture and you expect to see, are there any humans in that picture? Yes or no? So basically the applications is our photo tagging. Or if you feed the audio clip, for example, from bank or telecommunication companies like I work in, there are a lot of audio interactions with our customers. You take the audio clip, and then what you're expecting is the transcript, automatic transcript. So this is also a sort of a language translation application, what machines can actually do. Let me give you a concrete example that I hope also demystify what this is. We in Telenor Research are developing a speech-to-text transcriber in Norwegian, an automatic transcriber of speech to text. Now, what does it mean? Well, it means that, well, idea or ambition is that when the customers are calling us, we are actually able to automatically translate their spontaneous speech, conversations, into text. And this is a cutting-edge machine learning research today. Remember that, at least for us in telco business, 97% of our conversations with customers are happening over the phone. I mean, they call us. They complain about things that don't work, complain, or maybe even say some good words for us, but they talk to us. So even Google today is not delivering good automatic translations on spontaneous speech. Google is very good at sort of spitting out text when you actually say in a studio, or you say very correctly. But when you have conversation with a lot of mumbling, like we as humans have, even Google cannot deliver. So what we're doing now, we're actually taking customer conversations, some parts of our customer conversations, we actually transcribe them very meticulously. We transcribe every little bit, even pauses and mumbling. You, ya, nai. This is a very intensive work, of course, capital and human intensive work. We make those transcriptions, and then we train our acoustic and language models. And then with these training data, then we actually ask the machine to translate automatically the unseen text or unseen conversation. This is a hard work. Imagine what we aim at. Well, we cannot expect 100% of accuracy, but if we can expect 10% of word error rate for the machines to be wrong on these conversations, we are beating the state of the art. So this is the work we're doing with university partners in Norway. This is the job that involves our own researchers. And this is the work that, of course, have potential benefits for our customer care units. If we're able to beat that, if we're able actually to create, first of all, a proof of concept, and then potentially a product that could automatically translate at the word error rate of 10 to 20%, we're absolutely happy. Remember, spontaneous speech with a lot of dialects and a lot of mistakes that people make. So in a nutshell, a machine learning problem is something about when you train your model with training data set, aiming to predict something, like a correct translation, and then you make inference with new data that your model has never seen before, aiming for similar good prediction level. So in a nutshell, how to actually relate to AI, what AI can do and cannot do today. I would say that we are on the path, well, in terms of the path of general AI, we're still at a very early stage. In terms of perceiving, computer vision, text, speech understanding has become more mature and also increasingly useful. When it comes to learning capabilities, how machines can learn, well, some supervised learning, A-B relationship with very, very narrow domains, it's also kind of, we see improvement. But when we think of reasoning, causality relationship, why COVID-19 actually happened, just an example, or how to cure it, what actually makes it cure, we have very little progress. And planning, I would say, well, this is something that we should work and perhaps will work in the coming years. So how do we create value from this? What is the business out of it? First of all, you should remember that AI helps to solve problems. I gave you one example of speech recognition. There are many more examples. For the sake of time, I will just give you one. Or if you look at this little sort of big forest, you see a person there standing. This is a person standing on our base station. What are we doing with our base stations? Remember, at least in Norway, we have about 8,000 base stations, and all of these base stations are powered by energy. By rules, we know that at nights when people sleep, we turn off the capacity layers because we don't need them. But what if we can actually turn off and turn on our capacity layers during the daytime so that we can save electricity and at the same time reduce CO2 footprint? We actually can do it if we actually can spot patterns of our network load, how much of data people use in which part of the city. And based on these data patterns, we can determine power saving windows. We're actually doing this project today in many business units, aiming actually to reduce the power consumption based on data patterns in our operations. This is another example how AI or data-driven methods are enable us to create business. I think I'll need to jump a little bit over just to save some time. But if you ask me, so where is the value? The value is in full automation, but we are far, far from this. Even companies like large telcos are far away from full automation systems. The same green radio example I just gave you, the full ambition is to automate. Once you get these power saving windows, the network automatically reprograms itself and adjusts power saving windows based on patterns of data usage. That's the dream. Today, we are not there. We still have a lot of rule-based AI, even more, just business intelligence, kind of collecting some data about our customers, about our networks and products, but doing barely nothing with this. So that's the vision. And if you want to go up this ladder, what you require are big data platforms and modern machine learning tools. So what do we need to actually create business? I would say we need to solve the first and the last mile of AI. And what is it? The first thing you should think about is data. What kind of data do I have as a company? Which data is unique? How accessible this data is for me, meaning in terms of cost and accessibility. Do I own it? And what do I do with this data? So data readiness is the first important mile you need to make. Then, doesn't matter what kind of machine learning models you build, but eventually you need to integrate those models in your production systems. So if you have no capacity and process or organization that is able to experiment and build those production systems, push these models into your operations, you will actually stay at R&D level only. So you will not create business and you will not differentiate yourself from other big players or small players in the market. And of course, you need to have some basic infrastructure, meaning data platforms, machine learning platforms, and tooling, in order to able actually to process these large or small amounts of data in a meaningful way. So, but even before you actually go for data, one of the things we're also struggling is to define machine learning problems. So what is the problem you're actually willing to solve with machine learning and automation? This is not the same as a business case or business problem. It's something completely different. So where you see the value of predictions. So one of my colleagues made a very good graph. I just want to show you this. He said, like, think of an Eiffel Tower. The first thing you're asking yourself, remember this A-B relationship for Andrew Ng. Find an important A-B relationship for your company, input and output. But that's not enough. Can you act on B? In my example of speech to text, can I act on these transcriptions that machines make? What do I do with them? Shall I do some sort of text analysis and classification to understand why people are calling us? Shall I improve my agents because I know which agents actually perform best? Shall I actually use some of the agents to upsell? You need to do something with the B. If you have no idea what you do with the B, forget about it. Go back to the questions of what is important. And then, where do I get the data? Where do I get the data? It's essential. And lastly, so can you build machine learning insight? Remember, it's costly. And put it in production, or do you outsource? These are very, very basics, but if you think of that Eiffel Tower, you should actually think of at least these things to actually define a machine learning problem. And then data readiness, as I said. I heard so many times by companies, also internally in Telenor, but also outside, oh, we have a lot of data. I said, nonsense, it doesn't matter. What do you do with that data? And what data is unique and strategic for you? Can you access it fast and fairly easy? How much does it cost for you? And what kind of quality you actually have? Remember, every prediction has to be reliable and quality checked. Because if you don't do that, then you will fail, our competitors will take over. And what is the right data? Is it the data that you own? Can you combine the data? The same example for the green radio I gave you from our business. Well, network data is one data. We have the network loads, but is it enough to be unique? Should we combine customer data, churn data, network NPS, all these different data points that vendors don't have in order to create even more rich algorithms? I'm jumping now. Then experimentation. You need to create a culture of experimentation in your company. Why? Because a lot of the machine learning projects fail. There's a lot of things you don't anticipate in early. And remember, this is the continuous iteration between the use case, collection of data, developing, training, testing model, and putting models in production. So my last point about recommendations. Again, it's only some based on my own experience. What should we do? Similar to that gentleman 1 year ago, he said, how do I relate Yara to AI? What should I do? I mean, how does that do my business? Well, if you believe in digitalization and automation, that I personally believe that will hit all companies or all industries in the world, you should start thinking about training your company to recognize machine learning problems. What are prediction or optimization problems that humans cannot solve or can solve at a really high cost where you can actually equip the machines? And what are the problems you should prioritize? The second thing, invest in data. Invest in data management. It's not only about building or buying structured or licensing data platforms. It's more than that. It's about competence and capabilities built on top of it. And also make sure you're creating an experimental infrastructure. Right tooling is important. Design your organization for agility. This is essential. We talk so much about it, we really don't know what to do with it. Third thing, understand the value of in-house competence. You will not solve all AI problems in-house. Some of the machine learning problems will be outsourced to vendors and external third parties. But you should have some minimum competence in-house to be able to make decisions. And also equip your business leaders, your domain experts with very basic data competence. If you don't have that, it will stay in a very small pockets of organization. Remember, most successful machine learning or AI projects generally are cross-functional, involving domain expertise, data experts, and also business leaders. I haven't time to come up with some trends because of my time, but I'll just say a couple of things, the very, very last things from where is AI moving? The first thing, AI is actually still in the hands of powerful big tech players, where compute power resources are huge, where they have capital and competence. So we are facing that polarization of AI in this world. Right? A question will be, should the big tech companies take over, or should we actually be able to find our niches? And also remember that trust, reliability, and ethics become a very important topic when we collect data, when we process data, and when we build algorithms. We should be very conscious about this debate that happens both in Europe and around the world, and build AI in an ethical manner. I will be happy to share my presentation with you if any one of you interested, and thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you so much. It was super enriching, super nicely presented. I think we will not attempt with questions because of lack of time and because of technical issues that I have to, again, apologize for that we experienced previously. But anyway, there's, last but not least, a very exciting moment. I want to invite on stage Chairman of Norwegian-Lithuanian Chamber of Commerce, and that's Mr. Stein Ove Sektan, who is going to present an awards ceremony. So please stay tuned.
Dear everyone, it's been very nice to have you here in the audience. You know, it feels good when we can see responses and so forth. And I see some of the speakers, they lack a little bit that visual of who is in the audience. But I still think the speakers have done a magnificent job on enlightening us on how Norway is in need of 10,000 workers in the ICT sector. Lithuania has many skilled people that they can contribute with. We heard how applied data could be used to measure nitrogen levels and automatically do fertilizing in the right way. We heard that digitalization in shipping documents weren't the IT that was the bottleneck, but how people didn't use it. And how transparency with Norwegian investors was very important, and that the Barcelona social meetup was the foundation for the openness to get a good investment from Norway. We hope our Christmas party will be an equally good place to meet and further generate trust between the two countries. We had a very long and good presentation of trust as a topic, and although some places the trust is going down, we noticed that Norway has a 74% trust level and Lithuania 21%. So here there is obviously things to learn and take forward. I was very happy with the last presentation about artificial intelligence, because being in a development project ourselves, we are a little disillusioned at the moment, and I saw that that was the last phase before you started to reap the awards, so I'm going to go back and start reaping the awards from the project very soon. Just like these speakers were representatives of skills and things that was interesting to us, we also have representatives of the Norwegian-Lithuanian business environment, people that are contributing to making Norway and Lithuania work closer together. And for that, the chamber and the board of the chamber have a prize that we want to give out, and I'm going to read out to you what it is and who is this year's winner. So what is the Klosterlasse Award? The Norwegian community, represented by the Norwegian-Lithuanian Chamber of Commerce, have instituted a special award of honor, the Klosterlasse Award, to be granted to individuals of Norwegian nationality or people with very strong connections to Norway. It is awarded to candidates who have done exceptional effort through their work and life in Lithuania. Klosterlasse Lauritz Nilsson, or Laurentius Norvegus, was a Norwegian Jesuit priest active in service of the Counter-Reformation. He was born in Tønsberg in 1538, and he was quite controversial in his energetic fight for the Catholic Church in Northern Europe. He came to Vilnius around 1620, being 82 years old, after he was forced to leave both Sweden, Denmark, and Riga. He was in conflict with the King of Denmark and Sweden in his fight for the Catholic Church. Despite his age, he was teaching moral theology at the Jesuit Collegium that we today know as the Vilnius University. He died in 1622, about 84 years, and was buried in Vilnius University Church of St. John's. There you can find a memorial plaque for Klosterlasse. The Norwegian King Harald and Queen Sonja unveiled this plaque during their first state visit here in 1998. Klosterlasse is the first Norwegian man living and acting in Lithuania. He was said to be an inspiration for a lot of people, and his enthusiasm, fighting spirit, curiosity, creativity, craziness, patience, and courage gives a background for this award. There are a lot of people in Norwegian community acting in Lithuania who have done and continue to do a lot for Norwegian and Lithuanian cooperation. But today we would like to honor one person in particular. This year's award winner has demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to cultivating bilateral economic relationships and has played a vital role in the NLCC, helping to strengthen relationships with chamber members and to keep the Norwegian business community in Lithuania united, not least to increase awareness of the benefits, programs, and initiatives of the chamber. No matter that he had served in Lithuania only 2.5 years, probably the shortest period of time so far compared to his predecessors, he left a huge mark in the history of Team Norway, the NLCC, and bilateral relations on our two countries. When leaving our country to move back to Norway for retirement, he was known among the community not only for his friendliness, but for exceptional efforts of his diplomatic mission to maintain and enhance stronger ties between the country of Norway and Lithuania. This year winner is the kind of person that you after a few meetings feel you have known all your life. It is not easy to combine the formal role of ambassador with the warmth needed to establish new personal relationships, but he is a master. Not only has he strengthened the bonds between Norway and Lithuania, but he has also made a lasting impression on our personal lives, and has stood as an example and a reminder of the basis of all human progress, the trust between people. This year's award winner is also a co-owner of the shipping company North Sea Shipping, which is operated by the Klepsvik and Økland families from Bakkasund in Austevoll. No secret anymore, it's an honor and pleasure for me to announce that the Klosterlasse Award for 2020 goes to Mr. Karsten Klepsvik for his ability to combine what is best in Norway and Lithuania, for his outstanding dedication to enhance and elevate the business ties between Norway and Lithuania, and who after returning to Norway will further promote greater business opportunities between Norway and Lithuania. Karsten, congratulations. And we will of course make sure that this award gets to Karsten in a healthy condition and as nice as you see it today. And here is the man.
Hello.
Yes, Lena, can you hear me?
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Should I start saying something?
Yes.
Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. Stenova, I didn't hear you, but I guess I have a fairly good feeling of what you said. And let me all thank you for this great honor. It was totally unexpected for me. I don't know how well deserved it was, but I trust in the competence of the board who has made this choice. And once again, I'm very honored and thank you so much. Of course, this is a very special prize. named after a very famous Norwegian from the 16th century, Lauritz Nilsen, which became then Lasse. He was probably one of the most international Norwegians ever. He got educated as a priest. He converted to Catholicism. He was born the year after we introduced the Reformation in Norway, where we became Lutherans instead of Catholics. And he devoted his life to change this situation, to namely bring the Scandinavian countries back to adopt a Catholicism as their main religion. We all know that he didn't succeed, but I mean, it was a fantastic endeavor, and he traveled all over Europe to defend this case, and he ended up in Vilnius, where he stayed the last part of his life. So, I mean, it's a great setting to be awarded a prize with such a person's name. Let me also say that I think the board deserved this prize even more than me. If it not had been for the very professional organization you have built with NLCC, there would not have been a platform even for me to perform. But I must say that I'm very proud of NLCC and what they have achieved over this short period of time. I've seen other such organizations around the world. This one is probably one of the most efficient, with the least resources, but with a very competent director, Lina Moscote, and a board that is very devoted. And there, the Norwegian ambassador has the great honor to be, so to say, an honorary member of the board. And for me, this was a fantastic journey where I really saw what a difference such an organization can make in the bilateral relations between two countries. And I think, in fact, NLCC is probably the most important single factor when it comes to promoting the relations between Norway and Lithuania. So I, once again, thank you so much for this great honor. I should very much have liked to be with you today, but I'm happy here in Norway. I miss Lithuania, but I will be back one day and hopefully then attend an activity with the NLCC where we can talk more about this. So thank you all for your attention. All the best in your further endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much for being here. The next destination of yours should be the ambassador's residence, where you can enjoy lunch. For those who haven't been there, it's less than 1 kilometer away at Vinsom Mykolaičio Putino Street 4. So basically, you have to climb the hill up, and hopefully it's sunny. It was a couple of hours ago, and you can stroll, take a walk, and have a nice networking lunch. Thank you all very, very much. Have a nice rest of the day, and see you later.
By the way.